What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Spencer. Today I'm doing something a little different than what I usually do. So I'm going to be doing a deck profile, a test hand slash comp tutorial, and gameplay all in the same video. And it's going to be for this Dark Magician Egyptian God deck. It's a little bizarre. It's not something that I feel too crazy about right now, but this is where I'm at. And someone requested it, so here we go. This is just, the current product of it. I think it's okay, all things considered. Really good for stacking the deck, obviously. So just one Dark Magician, one Obelisk the Tormentor, and one Slifer the Sky Dragon. So you'll be dumping it with Magician Souls, hopefully, as much as possible. And you want to grab all your Egyptian Gods from the True Name. This is the power card. This is the best card in Egyptian Gods. I've been thinking about this. Honestly, there needs to be a card that says add card advance and the True Name to your hand. Like, that just needs to be a thing. And I think it would at least bring the deck a little bit together. And I think that's the only way Egyptian Gods can become much more playable, because these cards are so scattered right now. It's very, very frustrating. Top Share helps out a lot, but yeah. Because you also see later on that I have one Thunder Force attack and one of the Fist of Fate. That's because he wanted, like, top, either Fist of Fate or Thunder Force attack. Get the True Name. That way you can pair them together. Like, this is the only decent interaction the deck has right now with these cards, which is really bad. Like, it should be better than that. But alright, we'll go back into it. I do run a little Dogmatica package, so one Fleur, one Ecclesia, and the one Maximus, because of the 3 Dear Servant. It's pretty good. You can... I run a Shadal package in here too, but if you think about it, you can send Shadal App Cologne, and then you could dump any other... like Dark Monster, Magician's Rod, Soul, whatever, or send more stuff off of the Maximus, because then you can get Shadal Ruck and you can just banish the App Cologne that you sent, just to get something like Shadal Window, which is kind of like a power card. Because as I was running this deck for a while, like I didn't have Dogmatic in there, and it just kind of fell flat. Like, I made these cool plays with the True Name. My opponent would be left with, 2,000 life points, something like that. And then my big follow-up play, quote-unquote, is, like, pretty much nothing. Like, it's just an Eternal Soul combo, which is not very good in my opinion, so I wanted to step things up a little bit. Plus, the Dogmatica stuff is always a free special summon, which theoretically could get you an Egyptian God on the field. So I had the 3 Rod, the 3 Magician Souls, which is pretty darn good. The 3 Nadir Servant, which I've been talking about, the 3 True Name. I love playing Egyptian. Like, I think this card is a necessity in any Egyptian God deck, simply because it's the only one that searches these guys, and the fact that I made support around this card is frustrating. Okay, 3 Top Share, like I've been talking about, just showed it off in that numeron build. 3 or the 2 Exchanging Souls. That's really good. The restrictions on this card are too much, in my opinion. The Egyptian Gods don't have that much value where it should stop you from activating only one more card after, but I digress. Soul Servant, a couple of those is always good. 3 Super Poly is kind of your main form of disruption, going second along with something like the Nadir Servant. It's kind of like your 6 type of cards. And I guess the benefit of this deck overall is that it doesn't play into Crossout Designator. It does a lot of, like, really random other stuff, which, can be good. A dead card in your opponent's hand is always, like, a nice thing. Plus, they may not side it out. Like, oh, maybe he just didn't, draw into it, and they keep those Crossout Designators in their deck. Illusion Magic. I always like to run one copy of this with all my Dark Magician stuff. Like I talked about before, the 1 Thunder Force attack and the Fist of Fate. 3 Dark Magical Circle, of course. It's a very important card. I like to run 1 Magician's Salvation. I know there's a lot of 1-0s, but they are for kind of specific reasons. Because if you have, Circle, and you have Magician's Rod, and I guess Eternal Soul, you can search out the field spell, and then, use the effect of Souls just to send an extra card, basically. That's all it counts for. You just get an extra draw, so if you are in that situation, you can use it. It's a 3rd copy of Eternal Soul, basically. Is what there's, like, no difference. And I think this is just, like, a little better of an option. I don't want to run 1 Eternal Soul, because if they get rid of it, it's hard to put it back on the field, that type of thing. So that's the 1-to-2 ratio reasoning. And I run 1 copy of Destined Rivals in case you draw everything that you need. Because in late game situations, like, you usually do everything that you need. and it's nice to have at least one other card to search. Plus, you can grab it off of Dark Magical Circle if you do happen to, have it on the top of the deck, which is convenient too. It's a good card. Dogmatic Punishment, and I talked about, the use of Shaddoll Schism, and the 2 Eternal Souls. On to the extra deck. I have a Dragoon. It's a super poly target because it requires a dragon effect monster. Same thing with Dark Magician the Dragon Knight, super poly target. Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. I have some other, just like probably one other, Mud Dragon of the Swamp is also good. And everything else is pretty much, Titanclad, which searches out your Dogmaticas, good to send off of the Maximus. Apcolone, which is good to send, so you can grab the Shaddoll Schism to your hand. Shaddoll Winda is the follow-up play with Schism. Elder Entity Nest, that's pretty standard. I really like Wind Pegasus. This card I think is super underrated. It is like literally 1v duels. I'm pretty sure you'll see one where it does. Nightmare Unicorn, IP Masquerena. You'll see a couple of replays where those cards come up in handy too because they have good interactions with Magician's Rod and Souls. I don't run Red Eyes package, but obviously this can send Super Poly, which is, you saw me before in Dark Magician's Win Me games. Imduke to get your Dark Magician off the field to keep your loops going with the Dark Magical Circle. Artemis is like super important because it gets stuff like your Magician's Rod off the field. And even if you don't have anything to use with Eternal Soul, if you just activate it during your opponent's turn, you can tribute this Artemis and grab the rod back to your hand so you can get some more pieces that you need, which is a very good thing. And last, you want to be able to get a bunch of monsters off the field sometimes because your board can get flooded. So you need a Link 4. For me, that's Boral Sword Dragon. I'm sure you could use like pretty much anything else, but this is a very good card, so that's why I have it in there. Onto the side deck, a lot of it is just super poly targets, but other than that, it's Lightning Storm. It's pretty standard to get rid of Spell and Traps. The Prank Kids Rocket Ride, that's just 2 prank monsters. This card always just wins you duels against Salamangreats, Violet Chimera. Vision Hero Adoration, 2 hero monsters, very generic. World Chalice Guard Dragon, a lot of Link monsters. In case your opponent is playing like something super dark heavy, you can go into this Predaplant monster. I like the main Starving Venom because there's only 2 dark monsters, and that's more likely to happen. But yeah, and then Eldritch the Mad Golden Lord is also not too shabby. And the 3 Lancey, because I feel like this is a card that can kind of win you duels, like it's that powerful, so I like to have it in my side. And 3 Nibiru. As you guys know, Nibiru is very good. Okay, so we'll go into the little combo or test hand here, just to see how cool some of the things that you can do. We'll go ahead and special summon this Magician Souls. We will grab a circle. Then we can go into IP Masquerena. Off the top, we did find a Soul Servant, but the rest of the deck is, the rest of those cards was stacked, so I was able to use the True Name with it, which is pretty darn neat. I can draw a card, go into, now I have like my play set up, I have Super Poly set up, I can now grab a Schism, and I have a Fleur-de-Lis, and I can grab Dogmatic Punishment, so the True Name has more, a lot more uses in this deck, and it also helps you search. Maybe you want to play like a Spheres mode or something like that. Like that'd be a pretty cool interaction too. But yeah, as you can see, like this was very good, and like not 90%, probably half of it was because of the True Name. I was able to grab Nadir Servant to my hand because it was stacked on top of my deck. So I'm gonna be able to banish a card. I'm gonna go into Winda, so I'm probably sending a card if your opponent uses any dark monsters, which a lot of people do. Super Polymerization is also in there, and unless I want to use like kind of that effect. Although honestly, whenever I activate any of these, I'm gonna be able to get Magician's Rod back to my hand. So if I do Shaddoll Ruck first, then that would help me pitch that with Super Polymerization, and then still have all this other stuff going on. So it does work out pretty well, to be honest. And I think I just have like 3 duels, and the first one will be against Lyrilis. This is like, oh wow, this is incredible. So Lyrilis is pretty insane. It just has a ton of hand traps. The fact that he didn't use Gamma here, to be honest with you, is kind of shocking to me. Because then you could like set infinite impermanence next, but now like your Gamma's offline. I did draw into the Exchanging Souls, luckily, so I do have a little bit of a power play, which is actually very powerful. Using 3 of your opponent's monsters, is certainly very beneficial. He's going to go ahead and use the effect of the Barrel Canary, which is new. And yeah, so Utopic Future Dragon only negates monster effects. So that was, I let him dig really deep into his deck. That was kind of like the whole point, for that reason. because now like his extra deck is like really thinned out. I'm sure he doesn't have another future dragon, and I'm pretty sure like this is only for special summon monsters because he doesn't have a lot of great cards other than, you know, Zeus. But fortunately for me, that was not an issue. This can't target this Obelisk, which is very nice. And the next turn, I actually would have been able to use the True Name too to kind of finish things off. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And I kind of mentioned this in every single Dark Magician duel deck that I play in. It's just the Eternal Soul package can win you duels against stun decks. And that was obviously like the ideal 2 card. Like, it literally doesn't get better than Top Share in the True Name. But yeah, so if you're playing awkward decks that play Mystic Mine, it's not an issue, which definitely helps it stand out. So I talked about, you know, IP Masquerena and how cool that card is. And, you know, he made sure to top deck Pot of Extravagance. It's a good choice. But if you're able to, like, activate Top Share quick enough, they're not going to know what they technically need to, you know, go into, or, like, what they should be stacking on top of the deck, which is a good thing. You know, there he goes. He goes for Mystic Mine, but, like, when I'm playing, like, I'm not even worried about Mystic Mine initially. So, well, I guess in this case I had Nadir Servant, but a lot of the times, like, you can just worry about, you know, going after the back row, that type of thing, and then, you know, eventually you can work on Mystic Mine. Better to get rid of the mystery cards in the back first. But I thought I was pretty close to lethal here. I actually think I would have been if I had searched Fleur, so that was my fault. So I'll be a little bit short, but, you know, otherwise I've taken complete advantage. And that was really cool, right? You saw Eternal Soul in action, you saw the IP Masquerena. So I was able to get rid of extra cards and kind of, you know, morph my playing style to beat a very random deck that most people aren't prepared to face. I had the Fleur, so I've kind of, you know, thinned out my deck, which might not be the best decision against a mill deck, but yeah. So he goes for the Pot of Duality, but I think he's only going to get like one, you know, like random trap card. I'm going to banish it because, you know, face downs don't do anything. So that way, I can get rid of the Dark Magician I already did, you know, by activating the effective Rod. So I can put it back in the graveyard to banish that, and I can go for game. And I could have, like, you know, normal summoned Rod, gone into circle, sought, you know, search with a True Name or whatever, but that was clearly very much overkill in that situation. And the last one, again, this is kind of all together here. It's magnets, nothing too crazy. This is very much a casual strategy, but, you know, you definitely can get some joy out of it. Okay, so, you know, the Magician's Rod is, like, just the #1 target for getting negated ever. I was going to go ahead and use Beta, because I think there was, like, a few new Magnet Warrior cards announced. I'm sure he's using those. They do a lot of looping. I'm not even sure I've ever played this deck before. I was hoping this would be like an effect veiler. That would have been a lot better for me, because I could chain the illusion magic. So once again, the Magician's Rod is negated, of course. And like I said, they're always about adding special summoning, and then the ones that special summon add or tribute themselves to summon a bunch of monsters. All right, at the end of that phase, I'll go ahead, or the battle phase, I have to say, the end of that phase. I can search to thin out my deck a little bit, maybe add, I guess, a little bit of defense. And I can also hopefully activate this this Dogmatic of Punishment at some point to get the Rod back to my hand. So maybe this time I can activate Magician's Rod, which it seems like that's what I'm planning on doing. I can get rid of his big monster because, you know, Valkyrian doesn't actually do anything. I'm going to normal summon the Magician's Rod, and for a third time, a third hand trap negates it. How frustrating is that? But I'm pretty sure this is enough for lethal anyways. A very funny duel to end it with. You know, he just draws everything under the sun. I can't get that Dark Magical Circle. But yeah, that was a complete look at Dark Magician Egyptian Gods updated. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Other than that, that's going to do it for today's video, and I'll see you guys next time.